I just want to say, great presentation. I'm glad to see some fantastic presentations so far. Great job, everyone, for putting in the work. Thank
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We are iRecycle, opening your eyes to the state of recycling.
I have a clear memory of whenever I'd walk to school and see mattresses, couches, used tires, stripped down cars just laying there. It was extremely saddening and made me question, what caused for all this filth to be left there? Why were people so careless with their trash, ruining our streets? This isn't unique to one area either. It's something that happens all across the world.
Keep this a story in mind as we advance, but for now, we'd like to introduce ourselves. We are the iRecycle team, consisting of first-year Smash Berkeley scholars. My name is Fayola Diaz, and I am the UI designer.
My name is Sean Fee, and I'm the app developer.
I'm Jesus Salcedo, the director.
And I'm Miguel Romero, the UX designer. Beginning with the problem, we'll be explaining the what, why, and who. Starting with the what. People are not recycling. Of the waste that gets thrown out, the EPA estimates that only 30% of waste gets recycled. So why are the recycling numbers so low? Mainly, it's because people lack access to convenient, cheap recycling and don't understand how to or the point of it. If we can address the lack of accessibility and information, we've already covered half of the people who don't recycle. Our planet is affected when we don't recycle. The habitats of animals are killed. Our world is filthy and unhealthy, and the methane emissions caused by landfills are absurd. If something doesn't change soon, we're looking at more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050.
We'll show you why it's so important to start making that change now. A little goes a long way. Based on reprieve data, if everyone in the US just recycled one aluminum can, 295 million new aluminum cans could be made and save energy equal to 80,000 barrels of oil. Because the majority of people in the South lack access, a great deal of recyclable materials end up in landfills instead of recycling centers. For this reason, it's crucial that everyone has easy access to recycling.
To address these problems, we've created iRecycle. Here's how it works.
Welcome to iRecycle. In the top left corner, we have our burger menu. Let's start with settings. Here you can adjust the sound and music volume, choose the difficulty, and choose your language. We'll continue in English for the sake of the presentation. Then we have our leaderboard. Here we have the top 10, person in front of you, yourself, and the person behind you. Hovering over the names reveals the number of items sorted. Next up is your profile. Here you can view yourself, your statistics, link your socials, and get extra lives when you invite your friends. At the bottom left, we have our search tool. You can search, for example, bubble wrap, and I'll tell you what bin it should go in. Adjacent to that, we have additional sources. Pressing on each of these buttons links to the different sites. This last one is implemented into our app though. Pressing this will show you the nearest recycling center to you. Finally, the main attraction, the game. Then this AR button in the top right.
3, 2, 1, go!
Sort the items as they show up into the right bin. Hurry though, you're on the clock. This is what it would look like if you turn on the AR function. The game would function exactly as before, with you having to sort the items into the correct bin before the time runs out. This is to give you a feel for recycling with bins you might actually encounter in real life.
Riddle me this. What do you do if recycling bins aren't a commodity in your area? What if your community lacks recycling centers altogether? Our design was built upon the 3 pillars of sustainability: economy, ecology, and in particular, equity, to help tackle issues such as these while promoting the power of the 3 Rs. The app contains a fun game that teaches you how to recycle, informs you about which bin your waste belongs to, facilitates connections between people and their local recycling centers and charities, and helps people find free/reduced bins, all to help improve access.
We're always aiming to improve and implement feedback here at iRecycle. We'd like to better utilize AR by visualizing and comparing large masses of trash to the size of countries. Another idea is to add more modes to the game. In the future, we'd like to add composting, plastic recycling, and e-waste modes. We hope to form partnerships with existing organizations so that they can donate/give rewards to our players. In addition to promoting the app, it allows users to improve their lives financially while helping the planet at the same time.
Our key takeaways: being mindful of the 3 R's, recycle, reuse, reduce, cutting down the use of unsustainable materials, and educating, informing, and spreading accessibility. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide to recycle. iRecycle is just here to get you started. Do your part. Let's live on a greener earth together. Thank you, everybody. We're iRecycle. Any questions?
That was amazing, iRecycle. Now questions from the judges.
I'll go again. First off, great job. Thank you, everybody. I'd be curious to know, what was your key learning? You know, that what challenged you the most as you put this project together?
I think our biggest obstacle while working on this project, thank you for the question, by the way. Our biggest obstacle was definitely just working with programs. Some programs like Blender and Hoverlay, they weren't cooperating. I think the skills we've learned, like Figma, Hoverlay, all these programs, they'll be really good in the future. And it was definitely a learning experience, but I'm really glad we went through that. You know, through all the hurdles, we finally created something we were happy with. And we hope that you're happy with it too. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Arthur Jack. I noticed in the data, and great job, by the way, providing the data insight. Why do you think the data was so high in the South? Any insight? And is there something that can be done right now in the South to make a difference?
I can answer this one. Great question. Yeah, we after seeing how high it was in the South, we did some research into it, and we noticed that in the South there was a lack of recycling culture. Here on the West Coast and up in the North, there's a massive recycling culture, caring about our planet, and we noticed that it's not present in the South. And so our app wanted to try to spread that and spread the information of the other 2 R's, as sometimes you lack the recycling centers near you, so you can't recycle, but you can still reduce your impact by reducing how much you use, buy, and reusing materials that you previously bought. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mirage. Sorry.
We are Mirage, turning food deserts into food oases. We are Riley Deloach, Caleb Civil, Joshua Coffey, Christopher Bell, and Hanif Harris, and we are rising juniors in the Metro Atlanta area.
Out of 10.6 million people, 1 in every 5 Georgians are classified as low access in the census, meaning they live more than 1 mile from a supermarket that sells healthy foods. Food deserts are the areas occupied by these low access individuals. According to the USDA, Georgia has over 35 food deserts, most of which are located near I-285. People of color, particularly African Americans, make up the majority of those living in these metro area food deserts. 1 out of every 4 Atlanta residents lives in a food desert, and several experts have linked food deserts to higher occurrences of illnesses like hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. Experts estimate $71 billion in chronic illness-related healthcare costs could be avoided by healthier eating. It's a plague in our community, and we're aiming to cure it. But first, the numbers. Next slide, please.
We were able to gather information on every census tract in every county of the United States using the 2010 census data. However, because there was just too much data, we narrowed our attention to Georgia because we see and experience the effects of food deserts firsthand. Using a data visualization tool called Flourish, we created a comparison of the population of each county to their median incomes and realized that this information didn't really address our problem. So we looked further. Then we decided to assess the poverty rate of these Georgia counties and noted 10 outliers: Bibb, Chatham, Clark, Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Fulton, Gwinnett, Muskogee, and Richmond have the highest poverty rates in the state. So we focused on these counties. After this, We compared the low access population to the overall population and realized it was nearly 1-to-1 in some areas. We looked at the data and discovered that anywhere from 20 to 50% of the population in these counties have been labeled low access. Over 3.1 million Georgia citizens live a mile or more from a supermarket in just these 10 counties. People of color account for 2/3 of the low access residents in the area, with over 60,000 of them relying upon SNAP benefits. That's when we realized we were dealing with a much wider problem than we had originally anticipated.
We noticed the limit on exposure to healthy food options in the Black and Brown communities better serve those with a higher socioeconomic status. Food deserts are a public health concern in which residents lack access to adequate food sources, increasing their risk of chronic illnesses and premature death. This means that someone must take the initiative to equip our communities with the tools they need to break free from this oppressive system. We decided that someone would be us. This problem can be solved in both the physical and the digital worlds, and here's how. Next slide, please.
We partner with local governments and nonprofits to increase the food security in these low-access communities of color in a variety of ways. We offer mini farmers markets at bus stops, parks, and parking lots, taking advantage of existing real estate to lower our direct impact on the environment. We help to increase the number of community schoolyard gardens, offering affordable fruits and vegetables without the heavy carbon impact. In addition to these, we use our partnerships with local governments to provide fruits and veggies to communities in need via food trucks, reducing overall waste and expanding the community's exposure to healthy foods. Lastly, we advocate for higher taxes on convenience stores, tax incentives for health stores to lease in these areas, and sponsor local rec centers with the raised funds from taxes. Next slide, please.
On the digital front, we developed Mirage, an all-around solution to the food insecurity crisis in food deserts. Mirage uses your location to pinpoint healthy eateries, grocery stores, and community gardens in your area, excluding the convenience stores and fast food restaurants. Using the app, you can schedule a grocery store pickup or have your food delivered, and 40% of all purchases go back directly to the community. Mirage also suggests healthy recipes and a correlating exercise program that will help users to achieve their weight loss or mass goals in an efficient manner. Alongside this, our app notifies users when the aforementioned pop-up markets and food trucks will arrive to their area. Instead of stretching ourselves thin attempting to solve a global problem, we focus on our home turf. We know the land because we live there, and we're able to deliver our promise to make easy access to healthy foods a part of daily life for everyone. Next slide, please. As young men living in Metro Atlanta food deserts, we have a personal connection to this problem. Luckily, with our app Mirage, we can really turn these metropolitan food deserts into city-sized oases. We could someday grow beyond these 10 counties in Georgia by banding together as a community and enlisting support of volunteers. We might one day become a global effort to provide food security for everyone in Georgia and the rest of the world. We are Chris, Caleb, Riley, Joshua, and Hanif, and we'd like to thank you for listening. We're now open for any questions.
Great job, Mirage. Now let's hear it from our judges.
Hi, everyone. Great job presenting. That was really well done. And I love the app. The design was awesome. So I just have a question of how would you start to promote this app and actually use the features within this app to change the behaviors of these communities? Like, you have the app, which is great, but then how do you actually have adoption of the app? Like, does it come with, maybe having promotions of like you get a $50 coupon or whatnot? But yeah, so I'm just kind of curious because I saw there was also like an exercise tab within the app too, which is pretty cool. So just overall wanted to know like what your thoughts are, and actually like once you've built the app, how do you get the community to really take the app and use and run with it?
Excellent question. I'll take this one. The bulk of our funding and promotion is going to be with our partnerships with local governments and nonprofit organizations. So that's where we're getting the funding and the promotion. We work closely with communities, their schools, the county public health department, things of that nature, in order to make sure that the community knows that this is an option and it's readily accessible.
Great.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Hi, Mirage. It's Lauren. Great presentation. I just had a question about what was your biggest challenge when you were working on the project, or what is something that surprised you while you were working on the project?
I believe that our biggest problem was actually identifying what specific problem we wanted to tackle. So at first we began with the problem of emissions, but then we just realized that there's just too much data for us to go through. It would take much longer than the 3 weeks period that we had. So then we decided, oh, everybody that we know, well, almost everybody we know lives in a food desert. So maybe we could tackle that problem because it'll be much easier to work with and handle. And I hope that answers your question.
It does, and I really liked the local focus. So thank you all.
Let's go. Let's go. This is U.S. representative from Illinois.
This is another U.S. representative from Illinois.
These are U.S. representatives from Iowa.
Now ask yourself, do these people actually represent who is in this meeting right now? In your family? In your community?
No! We realize that there's a lack of representation and diversity in elected officials. Our goal is to educate minorities on voter suppression and help them overcome barriers that target our communities, beginning with African Americans. The graph shown is the race and origin percentage based off the population states. In 2019, all 6 states were shown to be predominantly white.
This correlates with how a majority of the representatives in the Midwest are also white, as displayed in the data. For example, in Iowa, there are only all white representatives.
This data indicates that the majority of elected officials are over 50. So far, we've seen that there's not just only predominantly white people within our population and officials, but older white men, as Philip will show you in the next graph. Of course, all the elected officials aren't around the age 50. This is just an average. But when analyzing our data, we saw that the majority of state electeds are ranging from their 50s to 70s.
Exactly, Blessing. The visual you're currently looking at displays the genders of elected officials. Although women are represented pretty well in the Midwest, in states such as Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, and Michigan, we can see that men tend to dominate the office more than women do.
This is the cycle of subjectivity, where you can see that the root cause of all of this is poor representation in our government and elected officials, which leads to voter suppression. Tactics like stricter voter ID laws and unnecessary poll closures are used to make it harder for those in our communities to vote, and some choose not to vote at all because of this, lowering the voter turnout and creating even worse representation in our government. But what if there is a way to change all this and increase voter turnout? Introducing Represent, creating better representation for the population. Unlike our competitors, Represent is a one-stop, innovative shop for all your voting needs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our group name is We the People, and we the people are tired of our elected officials not accurately representing us. And although we can't vote yet, we've created a way to make direct impact on the issue. I'm Blessing.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm Philip. So audience, are you motivated to vote yet? Well, now I introduce you to our prototype of Represent. Take it away, Caleb.
Thanks, Philip. Our opening screen gives you an intro to Represent, language choices, and takes you to our welcome screen, which leads to our options screen, where you can choose to read articles about voter suppression in our Learn More feature, see the data for yourself in our Bias feature, or even explore our innovative interactive maps. Represent's first map helps you decide who to vote for, see who's on your ballot, and even compare candidates using our chart. Now that you know who to vote for, next is seeing what you need. Our voter ID map displays this info so that you can be prepared when you go to the polls. Finally, find out where to vote using our polling finder map. Now that you know your who, what, and where, it's time to represent and cast an informed vote.
So you see, at first we wanted to create a website, but then after receiving constructive feedback from peers, we came to the conclusion that if we wanted something attention-grabbing, a website wouldn't do it. So we moved on into creating an interactive map.
We then received new insight from members of Google and decided to dive deeper into Represent in order to create a more interactive and accurate experience. Currently, our data only includes information about officials serving at the national level. But after gaining a new perspective from the social justice manager at 3M, we've decided to include state and local officials as well. In closing, we'd like to leave you with a quote from the late John Lewis. Democracy is not a state, it's an act, and each generation must do its part. It's time to take action. It's time to represent.
We recommend our app, Represent, to help create a better representation for the population. My name is Blessing Anthony.
I'm Caleb Bonzi.
And I'm Philip Johnson.
And our group name is We the People. Thank you for listening.
Yes, any questions or comments?
Great job. I love the energy. Do any of the year 3 judges have any questions?
I have a quick question. I'm Elizabeth Cadogan from 3M. Was there anything that surprised you guys when you were just gathering the information about this project and started working on it?
Yeah, I can take that question. I would say that one thing that surprised us was just like the sheer number of the data itself. Like we kind of came in realizing that there was a gap, but once we started analyzing, we saw just how big that gap was, and we're like, yeah, this is definitely something we need to address.
Awesome, thanks.
Awesome job, We the People. My name is Kate Marie, and I'm also at 3M. And I wanted to ask if you could you let me know what was the hardest part about working on this project and in this process?
I'll take that question. The hardest part of working on this project itself was in the beginning. Teamwork is like it plays a big role, and we were missing a few members in the beginning, like through this whole process. So, beginning with our project, we were lacking members, so it was just like 2 of us at first. So it was kind of hard to like carry all that load. But yeah, at the end of the day, we were able to gather it together, and then we gained another team member. So yeah, it was mainly teamwork at first, because teamwork plays a big role in this project. So that was like our biggest problem.
Thank you so much. Awesome job.